Okay, let's get into this. First of all, hi, I'm B. I'm a muralist and painter currently living in Mexico City. And I also happen to be a No Sabo kid. Now, I don't know if you guys know what a No Sabo kid is, but to explain it very quickly, No Sabo it means I don't know, but in like a grammatically incorrect way in Spanish. The correct translation would be no sé. No Sabo is used as a way to kind of shame Latino kids who don't know Spanish well or don't know it at all because their parents didn't really teach them. And this is like an ongoing problem. I wouldn't say problem, but it's an ongoing occurrence in the United States. And why would that be? The reason a lot of kids, including myself, don't know perfect Spanish or don't know it much at all is because their parents really wanted them to assimilate. And we'll get into that a little bit as we move along here. But basically, no sabo kids that don't speak Spanish, well, it's a term used to shame kids, but, it is what it is. You can't deny it. And most of the time, it's because their parents want them to seem American. All right, so let's get into it. What am I, a No Sabo kid, doing living in Mexico City right now? So like I said, I'm a muralist and painter, and obviously living in Mexico City has a bunch of benefits as an artist. There's so much history, so much culture. There's murals everywhere. Diego Rivera, Siqueiros, Orozco, Frida Kahlo, so many just famous artists that came from the city. So I'm very excited to be here. I've only been here about a month. And I'm currently working on my first ever solo gallery show. The theme is focused on immigration stories, the history of the Americas, and the struggle and triumph of Latino communities. I found myself at a unique crossroads. I'm an American-born, no Sabo kid living in Mexico City. And as full of history and culture, Mexico City is also full of tension. And currently, there's been a lot of protests against gentrification. I left the country I was raised to love, a country now tearing families apart, deporting people with little to no due process, blatantly breaking its own laws, and targeting Black and brown communities. Yeah, I'm a No Sabo kid. My parents didn't teach me Spanish because they were desperate for my siblings and I to be good Americans. You know the type. The model immigrants. One of the good ones. And mi español no es muy bueno. Hablar en español es difícil para mí en este momento, pero estoy tratando because I'm on a mission to connect with people, share their stories alongside mine, and document the entire journey. This is going to be at least a year-long process. I'm at the very beginning right now. We've been in Mexico City like 3 weeks, maybe a month. I plan to travel from here all the way to Panama in my converted school bus, and maybe even further if my finances allow. But honestly, right now, even Panama's a stretch. But I'm determined to make it happen. Even if I have no clue what I'm doing, I'm trying to figure it out day by day. All I know is I feel really called to do this right now. And that's a big deal because for the longest time, being a muralist and chasing down this career path had so much to do with how I can make the most money and not at all about what I wanted to say with my art. I've never felt so passionate about a project. I've always chased money. Ever since I graduated from college, all I've thought about is how can I become a rich and famous artist? How can I use art and do the thing that I love to make a bunch of money? And honestly, I'm 4 years in and I can't say that I've made a bunch of money. But each year that went by, I started to feel more and more disillusioned by painting pretty things and just making people feel happy all the time. And like, while I think there's a lot of value in that, beautifying a space, it's an important job. And I am happy to continue to do that. But, I found myself, especially last year, feeling like I really want to say something, but what do I say? I complained about that a lot of the time, and I struggled with trying to find my footing, specifically when it came to how do I, further develop my artistic voice, let's say. And I really feel like, I'm super motivated now, and I feel like I have a lot of things to say, and it has nothing at all to do with money, which is insane. I feel like my motivation to just purely make money has somewhat died. Well, now I have a direction and I know where I'm going, By the end of this journey, I hope that I'm fluent in Spanish. I hope I've met incredible people and told impactful stories. I hope I've contributed to local communities here in Latin America and back home. And I think I bring a unique perspective. Not only am I a No Sabo kid, which I've said about 1,000 times in this video, but I am a U.S. military veteran too. I'm the daughter of a Dominican immigrant mother and a Puerto Rican father from Coney Island. My parents bought into the story of the American dream so hard that they abandoned their cultures in order to assimilate. And I know it's easy to be mad at that. Trust me, I was for a while. Imagine how I feel. I've been getting clowned for my broken Spanish since I was a kid. The phrase, ni de aquí, ni de allá, I understand that on a whole other level. But I'm not angry. I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for a generation of Latinos who were taught to abandon themselves, to abandon the recognition of their brown skin, their food, their language, their lands, just to be seen as true Americans. And because of that, because of abandoning those parts of their culture, that left me and my siblings, the three of us, with little to no connection to our identity. I mean, my dad says it all the time. I grew up hearing it. I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm American. Like, that's so sad. It's so sad that he can't see his own self-hatred. And he wants to do whatever he can to assimilate and align himself next to the white American. And, you know, a lot of people would probably hate my dad for that and be really mad at him. And I mean, for a long time, I definitely was. I was definitely really mad at my dad. And these days, I just feel sorry for him. Like, I really am heartbroken for the Latino community in so many ways. And like, that doesn't excuse, you know, Latinos for Trump and all that. Like, I understand that it's a huge problem and people should be able to see, you know, even, I mean, especially now where we're at now, I really hope that people can see more clearly. I just feel really, really bad for people like my dad, people like my parents who felt pressured when they were young and experienced a lot of racism to the point that they felt that they just needed to get in line and do whatever they needed to do in order to survive in a system that was designed for them to never succeed. Speaking of assimilation, you know, I went to a very diverse high school. It was a collection of all the cities within the county that I lived in, New Jersey. The minority of that school was actually white people. And it's interesting shifting from the neighborhood that my parents moved us to, which was a predominantly white neighborhood, and feeling so out of place there. Being singled out at times, you know, definitely having experienced racism as a young child in that town, to then going to this very diverse high school where it wasn't cool to be white. And my peers called me white all the time because of the way I was raised, because of the environment I grew up in, because of the way I spoke, the way I carried myself. And it used to hurt my feelings, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not white. I love my people. I love my culture. And even when I didn't always understand the lyrics, I still loved listening and dancing to bachata and merengue. I loved eating mofongo. I love sancocho. I love eating rice and beans. You know, that is my culture. I am Dominican and Puerto Rican. And I wish I would have stuck up more for myself back then. Back then, I was too embarrassed to claim my roots fully because others insinuated I wasn't enough, and I believed them. But I always wanted to. With all that being said, I know what it's like to feel stuck between assimilation and cultural pride, and it's not just about Latinos. I feel this grief for every oppressed community, for every Palestinian, every Native American, every Black person, every person of color, every person who's been crushed by the American machine. I carry guilt for not seeing the truth sooner, but I try to give myself grace. I was raised in a house where propaganda was packaged as truth and Christianity was the only right belief system. Then as soon as I was 18, I was shipped off to the Air Force. Can you imagine how much more propaganda was pumped into my brain? And yet, despite all that, I found myself here in Mexico, wanting to advocate for Latinos, to show Americans and the rest of the Western world just how much unlearning there is to do. The more I've traveled, the more I've learned just how much we aren't shown, aren't taught, and how many lies the truth is replaced with in order to have a complicit society that continues to allow the elites to reign above and control the everyday person, just as they always have since the beginnings of colonization. I decided a while ago I didn't want to participate in the capitalist game anymore. I drank the Kool-Aid for a long time, up until my early 20s, and it's been a long transition to here. But I'm here now, and I have a lot that I want to say. If you want to be a part of this journey and support this mission, give me a follow. I'm super happy and super grateful to have you here, and if you've made it this far, you're awesome, and I love you so much, and I can't wait to continue to build up this community together. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.